The goal now is to provide a link for each restaurant in this list of restaurants that will take the user to the details for a restaurant. Now, we don't store a lot of information about each restaurant, but you'll be able to extrapolate this out to have a detail page that will show everything that you know about a restaurant. You can even add your own custom properties and attributes if you want to this project. I'm going to stick with something very simple because what we really want to focus on is how does the list page communicate with this detail page? Because if I click on a link for Scott's Pizza, I somehow need to tell the browser to go over to this other URL and load this specific restaurant, Scott's Pizza. As a first step, let's just add our detail page. So I want to right-click the Pages Restaurants folder, say that I want to add a Razor page. I'm going to pick this simple Razor page template and click Add. Yes, I do want a page model class. I do want to use the default layout. And let's just call the page Detail. Once Visual Studio has finished scaffolding this, I can think a little bit about my output model. Well, since I want to show the details for a specific restaurant, it would make sense to have a public property of type restaurant, and we could name this property restaurant. All I need to do here to make this work and compile is bring in the namespace odefood.core. And now, before we get hung up on all the details of how to find out which restaurant we're supposed to load, let's go ahead and build out a simple UI. So first of all, instead of just showing a header that says detail, since we're going to show the details for a specific restaurant, let's show the restaurant name here. So I need to go to my page model class. From there, I'll find the restaurant property, and then I can display the name. And since we want to show everything that we know about a restaurant, let's also display the model.restaurant.location, and I also want to show model.restaurant.cuisine. There's one additional bit of information I'd like to show, which is let's show the ID of the restaurant that we have. So model.restaurant.id, and I'll just preface that with the text ID. And so we're building a very simple display. You can make this a lot fancier. But I will add one more bit of UI. When I'm on the detail page, presumably I came here because I was on the list of restaurants. It might be nice to provide a navigation button that will take a user back to the list of all restaurants. So let's have an anchor tag that points back to the list page. Remember, I can do that with the tag helper ASP-page. That tag helper will set the href here. So I want it to point to a Razor page that's in the same folder with the name of list. And we can say all restaurants will be the text here. If I want to make this even a little bit fancier, this is optional, I could give this some bootstrap styling to look like a default button. And now I'd like to take a quick peek at what this page would look like, but it's going to be difficult without a restaurant because my page model class does not set the restaurant, therefore the restaurant property will be null, and this expression model.restaurant.name will throw a null reference exception. So let's go into the page model and at least set restaurant to a new empty restaurant for now. And this is somewhat typical of the way I like to work. Let's start with simple steps and verify that we're on the right path. We're going to come back in the next clip and try to get a restaurant ID and eventually load this from a database. But for right now, I just want to go to the browser and try to go to /restaurants and then /detail and see if I can get this page on the screen, which I can. So I have a restaurant with no name, no ID, no location, and no cuisine, but that's okay. We're going to fill in those details. I also have this button or this link that will go back to a list of all restaurants, and that's good. Now that we have a UI in place, let's see how we can pass along a restaurant ID from the list page to the detail page.